What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of That Scuffed Up. Episode 35 is finally here, and it is coming to you. We are getting closer and closer to Christmas time. It is that time of year, time for all the joys and cheers. Are closer to playoffs, and we are entering the final week of the winter 2023 season. My partner, Stephen Hayden, is back with us today as well. How are we doing today, Stephen?
We're good. It's the first time in a month we've heard you do that, do an intro for the podcast. So, I've had to do. I did it the previous few weeks, and things are back to schedule, back to normal. And unlike this last week of Wolf Ball, this last week is very much not normal given the number of days and how many days in a row we play and things like that. So, time to saddle up and get her ready.
That's very true. Biggest news that we have for you is that obviously playoffs aren't going to be in a week in advance. It will be in the same week we are finishing the season as well. So if you haven't marked your calendars yet, make sure you have them marked for Thursday and possibly Friday if you're one of those teams that make it that far, assuming you make it in. So for this week, assume you'll be playing at least 3 days within this week, obviously Tuesday, Thursday, and possibly Friday. We're going to break down Week 7 for everybody, and then later on in the show, we'll also talk about what happened this weekend with the All-Star and Home Run Derby. Steven was not there, but I was, so I'll give that report a little bit as well. We could talk about what happened in that game. Very interesting circumstances. And speaking of which, the world is absolutely crazy because we also got details of Shohei Ohtani's contract, and let me tell you, very interesting stuff. But let's get into it. If you got anything you want to mention, Steven, before we get into Week 7 stuff? The floor is yours.
I'm not sure how many spaces are available for this. You still have the golf tournament going on Saturday, the 16th. It looks like their registration spots are gone, but for that, if you are signed up for that, that's Saturday the 16th. I believe starting around 11:30 is kind of the check-in time when everyone starts, and you'll be playing at Strawberry Farms Golf Club. That'll be happening. And then other than that, you got Week 8 on Tuesday, and then the first round of playoffs on Thursday, and then all the World Series on Friday, which it's still kind of weird to say there are multiple World Series just going on, but that is true. That's the case. So that's what's up schedule-wise. And last week coming up this week for Week 8, some teams have clinched the playoffs. Some teams have been eliminated from the playoffs. So, time to just check it out.
There's certainly so. So let's get into those Week 7 matchups and results from this last week. And we can also talk about a few other anecdotes that we'd like to also mention while we're going through all these games. So let's start off with Division 1. We're talking about end of the season, getting solid wins, getting the wins that you need the most, essential wins are most important when you're getting this playoff push. One of those teams is the OC Wiffles of LA, as we talk about the first matchup against the Trash Pandas. This one between a very solid team in the Trash Pandas and OC Wiffles of LA looking to sneak into the playoffs. And they definitely needed a win here on this column, and that's exactly what they did in a very close game, edging out the Trash Pandas. And seems like an interesting pattern that we're looking at. OC Wiffles of LA just edging out teams and really getting the wins that matter the most, which is getting a W.
Yeah, this game did take extra innings. I believe it was 7 innings, or it was 7 or 8 innings that it took. OC Wiffles did get a huge win to keep their playoff hopes alive. Losing this game would have really hurt their playoff chances and maybe would have knocked them out, but they keep them alive. They actually currently have the 4th spot right now, but they do not have a spot clinched yet. As they hand the Trash Pandas their 2nd loss of the season. Big game here for OC Wolves of LA, able to do some good stuff. The offense seems to be clicking at the right time. They've had their offense continue to improve. They've had some good numbers across the board. Ethan Lee, Ethan Raffman, and James Lee, all with averages in the 300s. Actually, James has got a 404 average right now. Combined, they got a total of 18 home runs, which is a little low compared to the rest of the D1 teams. Which is the second least. But they've had some struggles in some other games, but that number seemed to pick up these last few weeks. They're finding a way on base. Overall as a team, they have a .466 on base percentage. So they're making things work. I believe that's the third highest on base percentage in the league. So they're seeing the ball. They're getting walks, and they were making Blake Fitzgerald work a lot in the beginning. Blake Fitzgerald didn't quite have the accuracy to start off the game, and OC Wolves were patient up there. Got some early runs, and while they did give up some runs, they were able to hold on in the end. For Trash Pandas, this did kind of seal the deal, that just to make to confirm that they would not be the 1 seed. They will be the 2 seed going into the playoffs, but this loss actually officially clinched the 1 seed here for the LA Wolves of OC before they even played, and Trash Pandas will officially have the 2 seed for right now for the playoffs. So that's how things are set up for that. But OC Wolves here with a big win.
Certainly is, and this is the big difference that we're seeing between, for OC Wolves of LA coming into this season. Obviously, they lost a lot of really tight games late in the stretch, but the turnaround this season, late in the stretch, is trying to get some good wins. We'll mention them just a little bit later, but definitely going to need these next few wins. We'll give you a preview of Week 8 and what their games are going to look like, because one of those games is the big dealer for this OC Wolves of LA team to really rally together and make that final push for the playoffs, because there is, as you said, 1 spot left in the playoff picture at the conclusion of what we've got at Week 7. Moving on, though.
Yeah. Well, no, not quite yet. But
apologies. Go ahead.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that deep dive into the playoff look after this recap. But kind of the big storyline is that 6:20 game that OC Wolves have next week. Pretty much a winner's in and the loser goes home kind of situation. But we'll dive into that more. But for the Trash Pandas, I don't think this is a worrying sign for them at all. I think they're still playing pretty well. The hitting's not quite as good as it has been. I know Blake Fitzgerald's still doing extremely well for 455 average with a 564 on base percentage, 11 home runs on the year, and then pitching wise, he's been real great as well with a 2.93 ERA and 45 innings pitched. But for overall, they haven't really had Mo this season. We'll see if they have him for Week 8 or the playoffs, as he can be another addition on the mound and things like that. So and another big bat at the plate. So we'll see what happens with them. But OC Wolves, they do get a big win that they show they can scrap and get those 1-run victories that they in the past they've usually been on the other end of those 1-run games in which they've lost. But today they're able to pull it out. Last week, not today.
Yeah. Well, that's the storyline here now. Now, moving on to the next game, the Beach City Bombers versus Shepherd's Pie. This would be Beach City's first game of a doubleheader in this Week 7, taking on a Shepherd's Pie team who has been somewhat struggling a bit, but they've been trying to figure out how to get some wins on the column and trying to put themselves out there just a bit more. But in this game, Beach City Bombers edge out their opponents 7-1 in this game. Beach City Bombers riding a good wave of wins here on the column, and this is going to help them down the stretch, as we'll take a look a little bit later in the next game. But let's talk about this one a little bit more.
Yeah, so a 7-1 victory here for Beach City Bombers. They secure themselves into the playoffs here. They can't catch the 2 seed Trash Pandas, but Beach City is settled into that 3 seed here. So it looks like we'll talk about where the playoff might made up later. But looks like we'll have a Trash Pandas Beach City Bombers matchup going into the playoffs here. But bringing back Zach Moore, or having Zach Moore for these last few weeks in the playoffs has changed this team and changed how they look. He did get his first home run in this game as well. And then pitching wise, him and Tyler are able to shut down the Shepherd's Pie. Beach City Bombers were working with a couple different pitchers to fill in that second role. Charlie Phillips would pitch a lot. You have Will Control would pitch a little bit when Charlie wasn't there, and then Tyler's kind of been a workhorse for them. But overall, for Beach City Bombers, it seems. Having Tyler and Zach back together, the mojo seems to be back together with the team, and then with their new addition as well, another late season addition of Scott. I don't know his last name, but he's had a couple home runs so far in 2 weeks, and it seems like this team's back on track. Relating to Shepherd's Pie, it is a nice benefit for them to be able to lose a game and move up in the standings. That's always a nice thing to have happen, as did happen this week. We'll get into a little later, but we mentioned that do or die game they got next week, but they do have a good mixture of the three pitchers that they have working around with Anthony, Nicholas Tone, and Evan White. Those three have been mixing around. It's just going to be getting that production at the plate from people outside of Anthony. We haven't really seen much of Matt Hornich this year. We'll see if we see him at all. He's had very few at-bats for the team this year. Only had 21 at-bats, and I think most of those were at the beginning of the season. If he comes back, that could change things offensively for them. And that could change things for the playoffs as well. That's a very dangerous duo, but it could be very interesting to see what happens with Shepherd's Pie as well. They just need to be able to get the offense going in general, because I believe they score the least amount of runs so far in the league. They've only given up 79 runs, which is not great compared to the rest of the league, but they've also scored 15 less runs than the next team above them, which happens to be the OC Wolves of LA. So just the run production, just the time of hitting's been lacking a little bit for Shepherd's Pie, and that's something they're going to need this coming Tuesday if they want to make it into the playoffs.
Certainly will need it. And when we take a look at Week 8, I mean, it's a win or die game for them later on between their matchup and another team that we'll mention later. And very interesting stuff that they're able to at least stay in the playoff contention as it looks right now. Even though, they did lose this game. For Beach City Bombers, like you said, the mojo's definitely there. I'll speak a little bit more about that just once we get to their final game on this doubleheader that they've got in the schedule. But for them, very interesting. Great pickups. They're really trying to compete with a lot of the teams that are in the upper echelon, I should say, like Trash Pandas and LA Wolves of OC. And with Zach and their late addition of Scott, don't know his last name, this really changed the dynamic of this team, and it's kind of returning to that playoff team that we've seen in the last couple of seasons. So great to see that they're playing really well. It makes it more competitive as we get to the last part of the season here.
Yeah, we will. It's gonna be very interesting to see with all this, and we'll dive more into that playoff look a little later on after this recap. But you did mention the LA Wolves, and we'll talk more about Beach City Bombers for their last game as well. But you did mention the LA Wolves of OC, I believe. And I'm trying to find Scott's last name. I know. Shout out James Lee. Has our most recent guest on the podcast. He posted a pitch with him, so I'm trying to find it right now because I want to give Scott some credit. He did hit a home run off me as well. Let me see if I can find this.
Well, in the meantime, if you find it, we can definitely mention it when we get to the.
I've almost got it here. I want to give him the proper. Scott Roberts is his name.
Okay.
Who apparently, from what I heard, he used to coach James Lee a bit. So.
Okay, well, there we have it. So Scott Roberts is our man who is that late addition team for the Beach City Bombers. Seems like a very talented individual. Obviously has baseball experience, so that'll help him down the stretch as he's getting acclimated with this new team.
Yep, college baseball player by the looks of it, or in the past. So, football transition can be made a little easier, especially just getting to it and not having to think about it too much.
Certainly, for sure. Well, the next game, as we're going to talk about why Shepherd's Pie is still in playoff contention, is because of this next game between the Avocabros and the LA Wolves of OC. This was a very interesting game with a very interesting start, I should say. Myself got off to a quick start on the hitting stuff. Steven switched up the order a little bit, having me go lead off, and then smacking a home run, and then getting a single later in that same inning. I know Steven will talk about his stuff a little bit more. But in this game, the LA Wolves OC take down Avocabros 8-3, and the only reason why Shepherd's Pie is still in playoff contention is because Avocabros got this loss.
Yeah, with this game, a relatively close game. It started off pretty quickly. I think LA Wolves OC, I think they might have had 6 runs in the first inning or something like that. A couple Jordan home runs, Justin Lee home runs, Steven with a couple of doubles in there, and then Dominic getting on base as well. They were jumping early. But as we got into the later innings and stuff, the offense slowed down for the Wolves, and the Avocados actually settled into this game and held the Wolves very nicely on their offense. Ended up scoring 3 runs in this game. I think one of those was off of Jordan, who his ERA is all the way up to 0.92 right now. So he's allowed 4 runs on the season. That's a little too many, man. We can't be having that. So I might have to have some serious conversations with Jordan. But I mean, another victory here for the LSVC, as we mentioned. That Trash Panda's loss was happening right as the game was starting for the LSVC. And so LSVC already clinched the 1 seed. First time in their history, they are going to be the number 1 seed. Actually, funny enough, LSVC have never been above the 3 seed in the regular season. They finished as a 3 seed a couple times, and including most recently this fall season, which they won the World Series. But they will finish as the 1 seed. They have a chance to finish with an undefeated season this next week. But we'll get more into that later on. But for Avocados with scheduling issues, they finished this season 3-8 overall, and they are not available to play for next week. And with Shepherd Spy and OC Wolves of LA playing each other next week, Avocados have no chance to make it into the playoffs. So to the Avocados, thank you for coming out, and thank you for playing hard. I know the season didn't quite go the way that you guys wanted to, but you had some different looks from some different teams, and you had to add some improvement, especially from a team like the OC Wolves of LA, who last year won. They've already won double the amount of games that they won last year. So we appreciate the Avocados. They also had the Christmas spirit going on, which was nice to see as well. They were all wearing Santa hats, and I thought that was pretty cool. But I think Avocados will be back and ready for next season. But as for this game, Steven and Jordan each went their 3 each. A couple weird runs given up by me. I think they had a 2-run home run that was literally down the line, and just one thing that is a little bit concerning is the defense of the LA Wolves of OC. You want to talk about that a little bit? Do you think that's a concern at all for this team?
Well, the defensive side of things, I don't think it's too much of a concern. I'm sure there's one or two, things here and there. Obviously, we're down a man, Dustin, in these last few weeks. He hasn't really been there. Obviously, busy with his own life and work. He's part of a plumbing company, and that's just an area where you just have to be able to lock up on certain things if you need to. But it's just a matter of getting the opportunity when you need to and capitalizing on that. For myself, I mean, in the All-Star game, which had a pretty interesting defensive game in that as well, but in terms of this, I don't think it's too alarming, to say the least. The only thing I would be alarmed about is just what we're talking about. You mentioning the number 1 seed the first time ever, because this league has a curse that says the first seed usually never makes it to the World Series, or not win a World Series. So I guess the manager is going to have to knock on wood on that when they get to the playoffs, but that's another story for a different time. But I don't think it's alarming right now. I think it's just Avocados definitely needed that push a little bit to get some runs in there. Maybe there's a few mishaps on defense and whatnot, but those are just the little things. If they're doing it all the time, then sure, I'd be concerned, but I don't think you should be too concerned with just a few mishaps.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a, there has been some disgruntling with a certain person we call a ball hog, and then the other two drop a pop up, and there have been some defensive lapses on the team for sure. But maybe with Dustin back, who LSVC have played without Dustin Stagg since week 2. It turns out if he can't dress up like Pedro, Dustin doesn't want to show up. So we'll see what happens with this team, but. With our final game here, I got the Beach City Bombers taking on the OC Wolves of LA. 2 teams that won in their earlier game today, playing in their second game here, with the Beach City Bombers taking a pretty commanding 12-2 victory here over the OC Wolves of LA. as I said, to kind of really help them clinch that three spot. And make sure no 4 seed is able to catch up, as they sit at 6-4 overall with a 5-4 record in Division 1. And your thoughts?
Overall, I mean, obviously, this is a high-powered BCD Bombers team that is making their return to what they looked like a few seasons ago. Obviously, they miss a few guys on that roster. Zach Moore hasn't been there a few times, and I guess things moved around where he's able to now, and that's really changed the theme right back to, hey, we're a playoff team once again, and look where they're standing right there at the third spot. They've clinched a playoff spot. They're going to be one of those teams to look out for in the playoffs. They're always competitive, a lot of those guys, and we'll have a little bit of a conversation about somebody on that team that's really been contributing this year and might be in the MVP conversation, to say the least. And OC Wolves LA, like we talked about, winning games in this close run. Obviously, this one kind of got out of hand for them, and that's just usually what happens sometimes when you play a lot of these competitive teams. But they've got one more chance to really show themselves and get in the playoffs and this late push. So they've really got to show out in the next week. But tough loss for them, but not a bad day. You got 1 win, 1 loss. Not too bad. Better than having 2 losses for sure.
Yeah. The big thing for OC Wolves of LA was to try to get at least one of these. Going into the day, you playing against the number 2, the two teams that are above you, and the number 2 and 3 seed Trash Bandits and Beach City Bombers. Getting one of those was huge for them, especially keeps their playoff chances good. And gives them a little bit of advantage. All they have to do is win this game, and win this next week's game, they'll be in. But with the Beach City Bombers, Tyler, it seems like they're kind of back to kind of a little bit of the World Series ways. Zach Moore's bat hasn't been quite there yet these first 2 weeks, but Tyler Moore has been doing a huge carry job on the team. Overall, they have a team average of 310. Which is actually above league average, but Tyler Moore is doing a lot of that work with a 507 batting average, and actually nobody else on the team has above a 310 batting average, but Tyler Moore with a 507 batting average, 595 on base percentage, 14 home runs, which leads the league, 35 hits, I should say, which leads the league as well. Steven has 34 with a few less plate appearances, but this MVP race, It's really interesting right now because beginning of the season we had Jordan Drexler who was starting to run away with it, and his pitching numbers are still great, but his batting numbers have dropped off a little bit. You have Tyler Moore, who's right in the mix of things. Stephen Hayden made his way back into this. Blake Fitzgerald was very much in there as well, but his numbers dropped off a little bit after playing the OC Wolves of LA, where his average and on base percentage went down, but his pitching numbers are still great. So you could argue the second best, or in some aspects they're the best. But if you had to take a guess, who do you think will finish off the MVP? Who do you think it's going to be?
The crazy thing about this is that we've never seen such a close, tight, or at least at the time that I've been here, seen such a tight race between, let alone more than 2 MVP candidates. And I think right off the bat, you can name 3 of them. I think last week we talked about Blake Fitzgerald just a tad bit. And you could still say he's probably in that conversation. Well, obviously things have dropped out just in the slightest, but the great thing,
his pitching numbers do help him out a lot there to keep him in there as well.
They really do keep him in that spot. And to say the least, I mean, as the end of the season is approaching, they have 2 more games to go, so his numbers could reinflate if he does really well in those last 2 games, because the rest of the other teams only have 1 game left in the schedule for next week. So whoever ends up in this spot, it definitely matters who is going to show out the most in this last week or so. But the clear top 3 would be Jordan Drexler, Stephen Hayden, and Tyler Moore. Tyler Moore has really been bouncing out this season. Obviously, you talked about the number of home runs. He leads the league currently. The pitching numbers, maybe right in the middle of the pack, I'd say. Jordan Drexler obviously is the top guy on the pitching side of things. His numbers in hitting wise, like you said, dropped off a little bit, but he's still right up there, almost even keel with yourself, Steven. Obviously, you have the bigger batting average because you have just 1 more hit than he does currently. But I've never seen such a tight race. I mean, if I had to choose, Oh man, see, this is what I mean by how like crazy close this could be, and I probably would say like we have to wait till the end of the season, but this is we're talking about right now in this very moment. I mean, just by the looks of it, it just to me, it tells me like who would be the top guy right now. Obviously, Tyler Moore has a higher slugging, it seems like, higher OPS at the very moment. I don't really pay attention too much to like the
the weighted stuff.
Weighted stuff. I mean, I'm a little confused by that, to say the least.
Aren't we all?
The leaderboards hasn't been updated either up to this point, so it's kind of hard to look at that a little bit. But if we're just talking about just raw stats in general, I mean, it's really tough. It's really tough to say. I would have to pick. In terms of longevity, I'd probably say Jordan Drexler. I mean, talk about a turnaround season for himself in terms of pitching. I still below a 1 ERA, with the earned runs with just 4 and number of strikeouts. Obviously, Tyler Moore has more strikeouts in that regard, but it's just the number that does it for me is just that ERA that really stands out. Obviously having a very dominant year compared to last year, and then obviously he's right up there with yourself in the home run category. But I think a lot of people would also say that Tyler Moore is pretty much that top right now, but who knows what will happen with what happens in next week.
Yeah, right. If we're talking about most valuable player, typically the most valuable. It's very hard for the team with the top seed to have the most valuable player. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's happened in a very long time where the team with the number 1 overall seed has the most and ends up having the most valuable player on their team. I'm not sure about the fall 2021, but I know like the spring 2022 season, Joe Harkey was on the 3rd place team. The summer season, True Hendrickson, that was a situation where he was on the number 1 team. That was the Wise Guys when they were the number 1 seed. Yeah, the fall season, Dylan Hoffman was on the number 2 team. In the spring season, True Hendrickson, they were the 3 seed in the playoffs after the regular season. And in the summer season for Stephen Hayden, he was the 3 seed, and then same for the fall season for Stephen Hayden, they were the 3 seeds. So it's usually some outlandish numbers that put them above, even Steven's summer season. There was the Purple Huskies that went 14-0, but because Steven's numbers were so staggering with that 629 average and 685 on base percentage, it really puts them over. But right now, there's not like a clear separator in any of these stats. The only thing that's really clear is Jordan's pitching. Which Jordan's got a 0.92 ERA, which is easily the best in the league. In 26 innings pitched, 59 strikeouts, and only allowed 4 runs on the season. And so that's a huge advantage to him. Also has a 500 average with a 582 on base percentage. But when you look at most valuable in terms of if you look at this award in terms of where would this team be without this player, I think right now it would have to be Tyler Moore. Tyler Moore is the only person on his team with an above 310 average, and he's at a 507, which 310 average is their team average right now, which a lot of is being held up by him. And I made that case for myself in the past where I had like a 629 average, and our team average was somewhere in the 3s. Because I was bringing that up so much. And then pitching wise, Tyler Moore is doing pretty well as well. 3.19 ERA. Right now. I want to say he's 4th. I believe he's 4th in the league in ERA. Has 32 innings pitched, 62 strikeouts. I would, as of this moment right now, I would give a slight edge to Tyler Moore. But this last week can change some things. Blake Fitzgerald has 2 opportunities, although he is playing the LOC and the Beach City Bombers. So these MVP candidates are going to be facing up against each other. I think Tyler's right in there. I think Jordan's right in there. I wouldn't discount Steven either. I'm going to try to make sure Jordan pitches as much. I'm going to try to give Jordan his 4 innings this coming week, but and have Jordan get up to 3rd innings. But if I keep the hitting up and I can put that hitting way above, that could be a huge advantage. And if Dustin is to show up as well, that can help shore up the defense. Because if we were keeping track of my runs, I guarantee you like half of my runs are unearned right now. It just seems I give up the runs in the most stupid ways. At least that's what it feels like to me. So right now it's extremely close, but I would give the slightest edge to Tyler Moore. But I think Jordan's right in there. I think by week 8, I think Jordan is very capable of winning this MVP, which I'm okay with not winning it because I've won back-to-back already. I'm good. I've proved my points. But then led my team to an undefeated record, and so at this point, and clinched number 1 seed. But it'll be very interesting. I wouldn't discount any of the 4 of us. It's the closest MVP race I can think of in a while. Because when I go back to these previous seasons and look at the award winners, which if you go to the OC Football website and check out media and awards, you can see it's done in a very different way, where all the awards are listed out now and everything's been updated there. But you can see, based off my memory, there's not a lot of close MVP awards. Even Anthony's back in the fall 2021 season, I believe he had a 680 average with like 33 home runs, which that was the first season. We're never going to see those numbers again, especially with the talent in this league. But going back, I can't really think of an MVP race that's been this close. The fall 22 race was pretty close. You had the guys like Drew Hendrickson and Dylan Hoffman in there in the battle, even Shaden Hendrickson as well. But to me, I thought it was clear that Dylan was going to win that one. Spring MVP, obviously easily true. Summer MVP, me. Fall MVP, me. Not as convincing as the summer, but still pretty convincing. But this is the closest race that I could think of, and it's going to be very interesting to see how that ends up as we get to the end of the season.
Yeah, well, it's been. I mean, look how tight it is. It feels like it's getting pretty high with the MVP race right now. Oh, you said it yourself. Well, we got a lot to digest here with just a week left, so a lot of things to come down. And Jordan's able to get another award. That would be his second award in a single season ever for him. So that would be interesting if he's able to get another award, which we'll talk about later down the road. So a little preview of what we're going to be talking about later in the show, but obviously we still got to finish the week 7 stuff here.
Yeah, it was a good sign for conversation because this is easily the closest MVP race that I could think of.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, it took me a while just to even think about it, but I think, we've made it kind of those little picks there, and we'll see what happens at the end of the week. So, anyways, we still got to talk about Division 2 and Purple League, so let's talk about Division 2 stuff as we were getting into it. The first game on the sheet is the OC Juicers versus Wiffle D's. Very interesting turnout. Doesn't look like somebody flipped the scores on this one, but OC Juicers did indeed get the win against Wiffle D's. 10-8 was the final score against the very high-powered opponent in Wiffle D's, who are, I should mention, holding a playoff spot.
Yeah, well, I mean, in Division 2, all teams are holding a playoff spots. All 4 teams will be making the playoffs, so they will be playing on this coming Thursday, but OC Juicers have been they've been finding their groove. They've been kicking into gear a bit as we get to this end of the season. They beat the Bad News Dingers this past week and also had we'll get into their other game later, but they beat Bad News Dingers last week. They come out with a victory against Wiffle D's, and it makes things interesting in the playoffs. Right now they're just a half game back of Bad News Dingers for that 3 spots. So. With the way standings are sitting right now, they could easily play Wiffle D's in that next round again, and that'd be a very interesting matchup to see. But it's gonna be very interesting to see how this ends. But both these teams do play another game, so we'll go more into detail on those later games, but on each team. But Wiffle D's kind of needed this one to try to get that 1 seed, and just unable to come out with the victory.
Yeah, this was a very interesting win for the OC Juicers. I mean, obviously they've had some struggles this season, and now they're turning things around a little bit. Obviously, this game was actually pretty close between these 2 teams, and that was the other big mark. I mean, most people would usually think that a team like Wiffle D's would probably take over the OC Juicers in the highest scoring game, but a great sign for them if they're really trying to make a little push here to try to get I mean, obviously they're in the playoffs, so a showing of what they ability of the potential that they have. So great sign for them to get this win for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. They seem to be clicking at the right time. It seems like the pitching's improved, and they've had a three-man lineup going for a little bit. With only three people being available, but it seems like they're able to turn the lineup over really quickly, and it seems like they're hitting the ball really well. Especially, you have a mean Eunice here with a 280 average, and you have Chad French with a 429 average. We'll see if any D1 teams are looking to possibly bring him in if the OC Juicers does not continue.
For sure. Some interesting names to put out there, especially when we get to the end of the season. And well, obviously, there's going to be a long break between when that is ended and when we have the spring season. So anything can kind of change. Obviously, one of the biggest moves you ever made in the off season between what is fall, we didn't have a winter season before, and spring was picking up Jordan Drexler in that off season.
Yeah, that's going to change the whole proportion of the league.
Yeah,
when you think about it,
that's true. That's very true. Well, moving on to the next one, we've got the Bad News Dingers taking on the same team that we just talked about, Wiffle D's. This is an interesting pattern that we're seeing, but Wiffle D's taking another loss to the Bad News Dingers. Not a great sign if you're a Wiffle D's player. Don't know if you want to be scared of this. Steven, what are your thoughts about this game?
Yeah, well, we'll talk about them a little later as well because they also had a Purple League game against in the 620 slot, but little worrying for them. I believe they were sitting in the number 1 seed going into this week, and 2 straight losses against teams that they've beaten before. I think beaten a couple times in the past is a little worrying for them. They may have been trying some stuff out. I'm not totally sure, but it seems like it seems like the offense just wasn't getting going as much as they are used to, and they've had great pitching throughout this whole year, which that Division II MVP conversation is going to be an interesting one to have as well, especially given these last 2 losses. But you had some great pitching here during the season from a guy like Alex Harris, but after these 2 losses, it could make things very interesting in the playoffs. So a huge break for Whoosh, who we'll talk about in just a minute, but fair play to the Bad News Dingers for. They have the OC Juicers right on their tail, trying to take that 3 spot. Bad News Dingers able to hold them off for another day as they come out with a big and much needed victory. And for them to be able to hold it Wiffle D's offense to just 2 runs is impressive.
Really is. Really troubling stuff for Wiffle D's. I mean, obviously they've got another week to figure things out. Nothing wrong with that. And just kind of have to see what happens with them as they get to the final week here. Moving on now, we got the OC Juicers taking on Whoosh. I wanted to ask you if this was right or not, but it looks like 13-13. Do we have a tie?
It did end a tie. This game did continue on. Funny enough, this game was 13-13. OC Juicers were actually hitting. They made it 13-13, and then about 10 seconds later, the lights went out. I believe this one ended up just getting called a tie. Very, very close game, very competitive game between these teams. As I mentioned, the OC Juicers have been kicking it into gear recently, and coming off that first game, and Whoosh they were able to carry that momentum. And Whoosh, first game of the day, they got the bats going, but defensively and pitching wise, not able to stop most of the OC Juicers, but. I believe this one is going to be called a tie, which is making the standings a bit more interesting as well. As the Whoosh currently sit at 5-2-1 with Wiffle D sitting at 6-4. However, I think Whoosh do have 2 games next week, if I'm not mistaken. It would make sense at least, which they do not. Okay, interesting. But anyways, be very interesting to see how Whoosh finishes off here. That tie could be a big advantage if they're able to get this win. Who knows what that means for Wiffle D's and Whoosh in terms of who gets the 1 and the 2 seed. Could make things very interesting down the stretch.
For sure. Whoosh obviously was that team that came into the playoffs, got all the way to the World Series, and then lost to the OC Seals in that World Series game. So a little bit of fire under the belt to try to get back to the World Series and obviously have to play a team that they actually beat in that playoffs last season. So this will be an interesting fight. If you want to talk about the standings a little bit, because now you mentioned that they're a little bit different because of the result of this game ending up in a tie. And we have a new seed 1 in the Division 2 standings currently.
Yeah, well, Woosh sit at top of the leaderboard right now. With 5-2-1 currently. Wiffle D sitting behind 6-4, and then 3 and 4 are still the same. I doing this podcast. I may have just noticed a little bit of a scheduling error. Actually, no, not actually. I stand mistaken. But with Woosh just having one game next week, that could actually be a huge disadvantage for Woosh. Because in the max they would be able to finish with is 6 wins, and if Wiffle D's is able to win, Wiffle D's has got a game against the OC Juicers again for week 8. So if they win that one, then they'll switch around, because it's going to be a very close race to the end.
Very true, very true. So obviously all the 4 teams are already in there. So the only thing they're kind of fighting for is that seeding. Like you said, Woosh and Wiffle D's have the advantage in those top 2 spots, but they just trying to figure things out at this very moment, and we'll see what that standing looks like once we're finished with the season. You're gonna get it pretty fast because we're gonna be doing it within the same week we're publishing this vid. So we'll talk about more of that once we get to the end of this podcast, actually. So moving on though, we now have the Purple League that we always love enjoying talking about a little bit. We've heard some interesting stories from that league. We got some fun characters in there as well. They're a very, very interesting group, a bunch of people. So the first game, start off with, we got Beach City Dingers and the Pancake Batters in their first game of week 7. 13-9, Pancake Batters take the advantage in this game, a victory over the Beach City Dingers, and they win this game in that first seeding.
Yeah, it keeps the Pancake Batters' chances alive here. It keeps them in that 3 seed. Beach City Dingers have already clinched a spot into the playoffs for the Purple League. So not too much to worry about for them, but Pancake Batter's shown that they can battle. Chad French is having a great season in both the Purple League and in Division 2. He's got a 548 average in the Purple League as well as having the 420 the 429 average in Division 2. So he's just hitting the ball real well, and it'd be interesting to see if a team tries to pick him up. If the OC Juicers are not around, it'd be interesting to see if a team tries to pick him up for the future. It's going to be. I know I've looked into it in the past and have looked into it for the future. So I think Chad French is a very interesting player who's coming into himself, and you can combine him with the rest of the group. Leads to success here for the Pancake Batters, and getting a victory over a very D1 heavy team here in the Beach City Dingers. Well, I mean, we'll see how much that means in the playoffs, but because this could be a potential semifinal matchup we see here.
Yeah, for sure. You're talking about these 2 teams between each other. Obviously, we talking about the Purple League a little bit. We'll talk about who has those seedings currently right now, but obviously only the top 3 teams make it to the playoffs, and they'll determine that on Thursday. Moving on though, we got Spice and Swingers and Dingers. Team names very interesting, like you mentioned last week. Swingers and Dingers are the replacement name for Wiffle Does. They took the victory in this game, so some of those guys who got 2 straight losses in Division 2 did get a win today in week 7 against We Got Spice, winning it 6-4 in this game. What do you think about this game? If you had any thoughts about it.
Yeah, I mean, in Purple League, we don't normally see these low-scoring games like this. It seemed to be this is the good point here for the Wiffle Does group, who then, as we talked about, did lose their next D2 game, 2 D2 games. But We Got Spice is unfortunately out of the playoffs. They will be back here for their next week, for the last week next week. But We Got Spice is an interesting one. They usually have a lot of low-scoring games. Actually, they've scored the least number of runs, and they've also allowed the least number of runs in the Purple League. They've allowed less runs than the Glizzy Gladiators. So, with one less game, it appears. But the Swingers and Dingers also keeping themselves in the playoff contention here. Both Pancake Batters and Swingers and Dingers sitting at 4 and 5. but only one of them can get that last spots into the playoffs. And as they don't play each other, it'll be interesting to see how things shake out for the rest of the playoff for that playoff push here, to see who plays on Thursday.
Yes, sir. Certainly will. The next game here, we've got Glizzy Gladiators and Pancake Batters. Glizzy Gladiators are obviously the team that's favored right now in the Purple League standings. They had that barbecue a week ago, and they got something coming up here in the next week or so. We can give them a little shout out as we get here to Tuesday. Obviously, most of the audience will be watching this on this Tuesday.
Unless you put this out Monday.
Unless I put this up tonight, but I guess I don't know if anybody will be up that late.
Yeah, some people have lives out here.
That is very true.
It's not us.
We don't. We just sit here. We're stuck in these
We're
rooms.
just sad.
Yeah. Yeah, we're sad people.
We just wait for Tuesday nights to talk to people.
That's it. We're just stuck in this room. We lock ourselves inside, and then when Tuesday comes, we're like, yes, let's go. We'd go Tuesdays to Wolf of
I can leave the house.
She finally let me out.
Whoa. I don't know your situation. This took a dark turn.
Help me.
Oh, man.
Anyway, so back to the game. We've got Glizzy Gladiators on Pancake Batters. Glizzy Gladiators taking this victory 18-5. Big scoring game for the Glizzy Gladiators themselves. And if you're not watching these videos, they're pretty entertaining. And sometimes your boy and Steven might show up on that broadcast themselves. Sometimes Steven's usually there to see those as well.
I was gonna say I've never seen you on. I've never heard or seen you on there before. So I've been mic'd up multiple times for them. A couple weeks ago, I had to do both their games to kind of talk about them. But a big offensive explosion here for the Glizzy Gladiators. They clinch up that number 1 seed, sitting at 7-1-1. They will have an automatic bye to the World Series, so they do not have to show up Thursday. So I mean, they score the most runs in Purple League, and they've also allowed the second least allowed amount of runs, with a plus 38 run differential, which is pretty interesting to see. No one else is really close to them, but you know, they're going for their second one in a row. We'll see if they're able to do it this coming Friday.
Certainly will, and that'll wrap up everything we've got here in Week 7. Obviously, we're moving on into Week 8 to give you a little bit of a preview of what that'll look like. Obviously, we got a do-or-die game at the 620 spot for number 4. The top 3 seeds are already set for Division 1. Steven, if you have any thoughts about this game in general, I'm sure a lot of us will try to make it out there to cheer on our brethrens in the OC Wolves of LA, but give us a little preview of what that would look like.
Yeah. Well, first, let me give a little breakdown of Division 1 in general. So you have the top 3 seeds are already clinched and not going to move around. The Yellow Wolves will be the number 1 seed. They sit at 9-0 with a 10-0 record overall. Trash Pandas are the 2 seed, 6-2 record, 7-2 overall. Beach City Bombers at 5-4 in the 3 seed with a 6-4 record overall. And then in the 4 Avid Carbos do sit in the 6 seed, 2-8 record in conference, 3-8 overall. They are eliminated as they are not playing next week. They are partially eliminated because the OC Wolves got that win. It was imperative for them to get that win to try to hold on to the playoff spot, but also in part because they lost their game this previous week. So, but the 4 and 5 seeds, the OC Wolves of LA are currently in the. If the season ended today, they would have that playoff spot. They have a 3-6 record, 4-6 record overall. Shepherd's Pie are at 2-7 with a 3-7 record overall. So the first time these two met up, I believe Shepherd's Pie. I know Shepherd's Pie beat the OC Wolves of LA. I believe it was off a walk-off home run to end that, which that's made things very interesting, because had OC Wolves of LA won that game, the records would obviously be different, and OC Wolves of LA would have already clinched a playoff spot, and they'd actually be fighting for that 3rd spot right now with Beach City Bombers. But because they lost that game, Shepherd's Pie still has a chance to get in. So if Shepherd's Pie were to win this game, then the OC Wolves of LA and Shepherd's Pie would both finish with the same record. But if you look at remember from the tiebreaker that we had that's been shown and been put on the website, so the conference record and overall record would be the same. Those are the first 2 tiebreakers, and then the 3rd tiebreaker is the head-to-head result versus the team you're tied with. So Shepherd's Pie would have beaten the OC Wolves of LA twice, so that would put Shepherd's Pie into the playoffs if they were to beat OC Wolves of LA. OC Wolfels win. Obviously, that record just puts them 2 games above Shepherd's Pie, and they would be in based off of record and things like that. So that game is going to be happening at 6:20. That's the big one for Division 1 to help finish off the playoff seedings. Looking at Division 2, as has been mentioned, actually, I'll leave it back to you if you got any thoughts for the Division 1 game, kind of how you think that game will go.
This is a very tight game. Obviously, they're going to need a lot of support. They're going to need some of their guys to really show out here. And, the X factor here would probably be guys like Ethan Lee who need to step up. Obviously, people other than Anthony Grisa are going to need to step up a little bit. They're going to need their talent to really spot them up here in this game. Obviously, James Lee needs to go lights out as well, and including Anthony Russo needs to go lights out in this game. So this is going to be a very tight game no matter what. Obviously, like you said, Shepherd's Pie won their last matchup against this team in a walk-off. So I'm sure a little bit of a revenge here is in play for the OC Wolves of LA. But very interesting circumstances, so we'll see what happens on Tuesday. I know I'll try to show up a little bit earlier to go cheer them on a bit if I'm able to.
You talk about cheering on the OC Wolves of LA, or are you cheering on Shepherd's Pie here?
I mean, it's my brother, man. I gotta cheer for my brother here, man.
That's true. You do have 2 brothers on the OC Wolves of LA.
He's not my brother. James Lee is not my brother, man. If anybody thinks that James Lee's my brother, you can't. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. You wish you were as talented as James.
Man, that guy ain't related to me. Have you seen how fat I am compared to that guy? That guy's skinny.
All right. Do you have a prediction for a winner for this game, or no? You don't have to if you don't want to. I'm putting you on the spot.
I'm biased because I have blood in that game. It's my own brother, so I kind of have to go with them. I just think they have a little bit more upside. I need. Ethan definitely needs to step up a little bit more. Ethan Raffman's got to bring the bat. Bring the bat. And James Lee just has to do his thing. I know he will do that for sure and take advantage of whoever Shepherd's Pie is throwing out there. So that's my pick for this game, honestly.
Yeah, and this will be interesting matchup, especially for us, because whoever wins this game will play us in the on Thursday in the semifinals of the playoffs. So. I hopefully a good amount of our guys are out there to watch as well. But it's going to be very interesting to see who wins that one, and in the last playoff decider for Division 1. Going with Division 2. As we mentioned before, Wiffle D's losing those 2 games has made things interesting in terms of the standings. So with the standings. The top 2 teams are set in terms of they can't be the 3 and 4 seed, but Whoosh and Wiffle D's could switch around depending on their results on Tuesday night. And then Bad News Dingers and OC Juicers will be the 3 and 4 seed. But same deal with them; those could switch around depending on how their results go. Whoosh currently sits at the top. With a 5 and 4 record overall, Wiffle D's is at 6 and 5, Bad News Dingers at 3 and 6, and then OC Juicers at 2, 6 and 1. So it'll be very, very interesting to see how this ends up. OC Juicers have been hot as of late, so we'll see how things shake up at the end. It's gonna be very interesting based off the games that the teams have. You have like the OC Juicers have a doubleheader. The OC Juices and Bad News Dingers do play each other, and that both those teams have a doubleheader for this week. So it's going to be interesting to see how this shakes out in the end. You have any thoughts on the Division 2 stuff?
No, not too much. I mean, obviously, they're all going to make the playoffs, so the only thing that really matters here is just watching who takes those top 2 spots, who's going to be in that pecking order at the end of the season. So it'll be very interesting. I'm very excited to see who we got because obviously we have a couple of new teams that would be playing in the playoffs and some teams who are playing good ball at the perfect time. So those are just my thoughts about Division 2, honestly.
Yeah, and sometimes you just need to be playing the correct ball at the correct time. That's we've seen that plenty in the past, and we've experienced that ourselves plenty in the past. So it's part of what's led us to 2 World Series titles, but. Enough about us. Moving on to the Purple League. Current standings are there. You have the Glizzy Gladiators sitting at the top, 7-1-1. Beach City Dingers, who are 5-3-1. Pancake Batters sitting third at 4-5. Swingers and Dingers at 4-5 and fourth, and We Got Spices at 1-7. As mentioned earlier, We Got Spice is eliminated from the playoffs. They cannot make it. They cannot make a playoff berth. Only the top 3 teams make it for the Purple League. So, Glizzy Gladiators have already clinched the number 1 seed, and the Beach City Dingers have clinched the 2nd spot. So those 2 are set. So Beach City Dingers will have the home field advantage for games 1 and 3 of the semifinals. But Pancake Batters and Swingers and Dingers each have an opportunity to make it into the playoffs here. Which, you know, for Pancake, each one of those teams plays 1 game next week. You have the Pancake Batters take. If I'm looking at this correctly, Pancake Batters and Swingers and Dingers both have double headers, and their first game is actually against each other. So that's going to be very interesting to see how that one ends up. And you know that first game they play could be a big decider. But so both teams play each other to start off. At 6:20, Pancake Batters and Swingers and Dingers. And then Pancake Batters then go play We Got Spice in the 7:25 game, and Swingers and Dingers play Beach City Diggers in their 7:25 game. So it's going to be very interesting. You got any thoughts on the Purple League playoffs and who's going to be in that 3rd spot?
Well, if you think about it, as you're talking about this, technically the playoffs would start Tuesday for a couple of those Purple League teams, and they want to get into that 3rd spot because that's the essential thing, is getting into the playoffs. This will be kind of like a wild card game, to say the least, for some of those teams in there. Obviously, things are a little bit interesting. Obviously, the Glizzy Gladiators game coming up with We Got Spice is obviously a game that doesn't have any playoff implications, but the other 2 definitely do for some of these teams here. So it'll be interesting who locks up that 3rd spot. And who gets to face the number 2 team, and then obviously they have to face off against a very tough Glizzy Gladiators team.
Yeah, well, playoffs are going to be very interesting. I do know, based off the schedule that we have right now, I believe the Purple League is going to be playing at 5:30. That Purple League semifinal. So Beach City Dingers / Bombers are going to have a very long day, as they have to play their Purple League playoffs, and then they have to go play their D1 playoffs as well. So that's going to be very interesting to say the least. But we shall see what happens as we wrap up this last week. But some playoff implications for all 3 divisions. Spots available in Division 1 and Purple League. Division 2, there aren't any spots available because all the teams already have spots. So that's not something to worry about. But going to be a very interesting race to the finish here for some of these teams, especially that D1 matchup is going to be. It's very much do or die, as each team is only playing 1 game and it's against each other. So I'm very much looking forward to that.
Certainly will. And if you're looking forward to other stuff, we've also got a special podcast coming out since the playoffs are starting Thursday. We're going to have a special podcast coming out on Wednesday before the playoffs, so we could get those playoff predictions out there, and then obviously talk about Week 8 stuff on where everybody kind of finished off in the playoff seeding, and then give that preview a little bit. So obviously stay tuned on Wednesday instead of this weekend, because obviously there is no season this weekend. So stay tuned for that. That'll be that upcoming preview for what's coming next.
Yeah, obviously we can't make playoff predictions right now because we don't know who all the playoff seeds are going to be. So we'll pretty much record right after Tuesday is done, and then based off of that, that you'll either be seeing that Wednesday or Thursday morning to see our predictions for the playoffs, and then after that we'll be doing another podcast. Probably won't go up right on might go up midweek. It depends on when we do it and stuff like that. Because both of us are finishing up our last week of school right now, so we need to focus on that, and then we can get the podcast out and talk about all the winners and also talk about our December 31st tournament team and things like that. So that's kind of our plan right now. It's gonna be interesting to see how things shake out for the rest of the season here.
Yes, sir. Alrighty. Well, now that we've gone over all of the Week 7 stuff and giving you guys that little playoff picture, obviously, like we said, we're going to talk about all the playoff stuff on Wednesday. But for now, we did have a event, and usually mid-season event every season that we've got, the Home Run Derby and the All-Star Game. Of course, we got to talk about that a little bit. Obviously, Steven was not there, but myself was, and a bunch of other guys from OC Wiffles and LA Wiffles at OC, so we'll kind of share that details a little bit. If you want to mention something before I get into the nitty-gritty of it, Steven, go ahead.
Yeah, what happened?
Well,
yeah.
So to put things interestingly, let's just say there wasn't as many people as what I thought were going to be out there. Turned out there was only 6 people that showed up, and there were only LA Wiffles and OC Wiffles of LA players. There was supposed to be some more guys that were expected to be out there, but it ended up just being 6 guys. So myself, Ethan Raffman, Jordan Drexler, Ethan Lee, James Lee, and Anthony Agrusa. So 6 of us. So all of us participated in the Home Run Derby. And then all 6 of us basically were the All-Star game. So just 1 representative of Shepherd's Pie and 5 representatives of OC and LA Whistle OC respectively. Pretty much that's what it turned out to be. But I actually had a great time though. Made the most of it. Very cold day, somewhat cold day. Same as always at Newport Beach, always kind of windy. A lot of people just, running, jogging down the side of the beach. This is around 10 a.m. in the morning. So, Home Run Derby, talking about a little bit. Obviously, everybody participated basically. And we have a back-to-back once again. It seems like this usually happens, except for Zach Moore, but that's a different story because he missed a part of the season last season, so he wasn't able to do much with the Home Run Derby because he wasn't even part of it. But Jordan Drexler is now 2-time champion of Home Run Derby. Steven, what do you think about your fellow teammate winning another Home Run Derby?
I'm happy for him. I know he enjoys that stuff, and he's been getting better and better with it as the seasons have gone on. Obviously, he had success last year. Last season, I should say, which I couldn't attend either because at that point I was in York, Pennsylvania, playing in the World Football Championships. This one was not football related. Why I wasn't there was some other family stuff, but very happy for him. That he would have been my pick out of, if you told me that group of 6, I would have chosen probably him or Anthony to win it. That I probably would have given the edge to Jordan just because he had won it the previous season. But I'm happy for him. Glad to see him do well, and hopefully continues that into the end of the regular season and the playoffs.
Yes, sir. Well, let me give you some of the details of kind of what happened basically in that Home Run Derby. So obviously all 6 of us were in there. So only the top 3 will make it to the semifinals. So Ethan Lee actually popped up for 16 home runs in that first round. Obviously, Jordan Drexler moved on, and James Lee was actually another one that also moved on in there as well. So we had 3 of those people in the semifinals. So it was between James Lee, Ethan Lee, and Jordan Drexler in that semifinal round. James Lee popped out in front with a huge number of home runs. I think about 16 or 17 in that second round. And then Jordan Drexler and Ethan Lee actually tied with 14, I believe, in that semifinal. So they actually had to do a face-off with each other in that semifinal, so extra 30 seconds in that time frame to get as many home runs as possible. So Jordan went first and actually popped off for 12 home runs within 30 seconds, and Ethan had no chance to catch up in that time frame whatsoever. So Jordan Drexler getting by enough and making it to the finals between himself and James Lee. Jordan Drexler actually went first, got 18 home runs in that final round. Huge number. Actually went on a huge run towards the very end of the 30 seconds because he took a timeout at the first part of that final round. And the task came down to James Lee. I actually pitched for James Lee for the entire duration of that Home Run Derby, just throwing underhand pretty much. And kind of found that groove in that last round. Just couldn't figure it out at the end. James Lee actually got 16 home runs and just missed out on a few. And Jordan Drexler was crowned as the home run derby champion. Once again, his second consecutive award-winning home run derby champ, Jordan Drexler. Congratulations.
Yeah, I wanna bring the focus. I know I want to know what happened to obviously congrats to Jordan, congrats to James as well for making it that far, and Ethan. It's like who would have thought? So congrats to him as well. But I want to know what were some of the numbers I got. So you said James snuck into that first round. What were some of the other numbers that the home run numbers for the first round, such as for yourself, who got knocked out right away?
So myself only got 8. Only got 8 home runs in that first round. Just couldn't figure out the groove or whatever. Trying to overhit, I think, because it was just like trying to take it a little too seriously. Actually, showed up like about an hour before just to warm up with my brother, and we were hitting home runs out there just before everyone else kind of got there. And I guess I just was thinking about just trying to get as many home runs as possible too much. So ended up didn't doing that great of a performance. Ethan Lee obviously was the latter, so he got more in that one. Anthony Grusa got 12, I believe, in that first round. And then obviously James Lee actually edged out Anthony with 13. And then Jordan Drexler got by with about, I want to say, 15 in that round. So he was really popping off just from the get-go. And it was all in his favor, really. I mean, the wind was actually blowing towards the right field, so any balls that was hit by lefty basically were just gone. So he had kind of a little bit of a help there with the wind. Obviously, everybody else was righty batter, so that's kind of what happened in that first round, pretty much. And then Ethan Raffin only got about 10 or so he also didn't make it that far either.
So you're saying it was rigged?
For Jordan, maybe.
you know what? Rigged or not, we take it. Yes, sounds good. Sounds good. Glad to see the boys doing well. I'm glad to see Jordan get another award. As I said on the Instagram post, I don't think that's the last award he's going to win. But I also said that in the fall season and end up winning that World Series. So we'll see if I'm right. We'll see if I'm right again on that one. But let's move on to the All-Star game here. I see here only 5 innings due to time restriction, but a lot of runs put up and a lot of home runs is what I've kind of gathered. Wait. Actually, one more thing about the home run derby.
Sure.
Let's talk about your guys' pitching to the home run derby. Why are you guys not holding the bucket to throw the ball quickly? You guys are taking forever to bend over, grab one single ball, throw it, and then do it again. You guys could have hit so many more home runs.
You could ask James Lee that, but for whatever reason, I was actually working with Jordan more with James Lee just taking one ball out of the bucket and throwing it at a time. I don't know how. I actually did a few times where I actually held the bucket and was throwing it underhand to James Lee, which was working out, and then I guess Anthony and also Ethan pitched a few times. I don't know. I guess it just wasn't built in the strategy.
I was seeing the videos. I was real confused. I'm like, they could hit so many more. But anyways, I mentioned the All-Star game a little bit. Some of the stuff about that. Why don't you tell me a little bit of what happened during the game?
All right, I'll start from the beginning. Obviously, like I said before, it was just 6 of us, so kind of had to split the teams, which was good because there was an even number of guys there, so it kind of worked out in a weird way. So it was 2 teams, Team James Lee and Team Jordan Drexler. I ended up being on James Lee's team, including Anthony Agrusa. Jordan had Ethan Raffman and Ethan Lee.
Were these teams drafted, or were these just separated?
These were picked off of a what do you call this? The bat over, hands over kind of type of deal.
Okay, yeah. And then they were picked like that. Gotcha. Basically. And how did we get James Lee and Jordan Drexler as the captains?
Anthony Agrusa picked them.
Just finals of the home run derby, I guess.
I'm gonna say yes. I think that's what happened. That's just what I heard. He just said, James Lee, Jordan Drexler, you guys are team captains, basically.
Okay, all right. Get into the game now.
Yeah. So we're the a home team in this situation. So we started out there first. So James Lee actually started off the game for us. They had Jordan Drexler, Ethan Raffin, and Ethan Lee. They actually came off to a very slow start in this game throughout the first couple of innings. And then we got to our at-bats, and immediately they throw Ethan Lee in there into the mix for the first inning. And it kind of went south from there, basically, even from the get-go. Basically, what happened, James Lee walked a few times. Myself actually nearly hit a home run, which would have been a 3-run home run. Landed foul, like literally to the left of the left field line. Like, it was that close to being gone. And then bases were loaded up. Anthony Agrusa opened the doors fully open. Grand slam off the bat to left field. That one was gone. And then I myself got another home run in there. So starting out the game very, very strong. And then James Lee got another single, and then Anthony Agrusa walked, and then hit another home run in that first inning. So already things were off to a really rocky start for them, and then managed to finally get everybody out because we got to like about 10 runs, and we were just said, you know what, I think we should just start hitting lefty. So Anthony Agrusa started hitting lefty after we scored basically 10 on them, and then myself as well, and that's how they switched sides. And then we switched sides. We put James Lee in there. He did, Anthony Agrusa into the mix. So this was the top of the second. And Anthony Agrusa basically gave up 2 home runs basically in that first start. Ethan Lee got one. Ethan Raffin actually got one. And then Jordan Drexler actually got a 2-run home run in that second inning. And now we're at basically 10-4 in this game. So everything kind of just starting off really, really fast. We get to a point in the second inning where the bases were actually loaded up, and Ethan Lee came up to bat, and I'm covering first base, and Ethan Lee got one off of Anthony Agrusa, and this thing hit, I swear to God, straight right into like where my eye is, and I managed to deflect this thing off my hand, catch it once again on the rebound, and that ended the inning, and we would switch sides ultimately. Now we get to the bottom of the second now, and pretty much things just really went down south from there once again. They put Ethan Raffin in, pitched a little bit, got more runs off of him, basically, and they throw Jordan Drexler in a little bit later because Ethan Raffin was struggling at the plate. I got another home run off of him as well, and I actually got a chance to kind of pitch in this game a little bit. Jordan Drexler came up there in that bottom of the second inning, struggled a little bit, but then managed to get everybody out. So we switched sides once again, and by this point it's 17-4. We're in a very it's a very close game at this point. Well, not even at all. Like, it's just extremely lopsided. All the bats were working for us in this game up to this point, and we throw James Lee back in there, and actually Jordan Drexler, I was kind of inside of James Lee head all day. He actually got 2 home runs off of this guy.
Typical.
Yeah. Wow. And actually managed to really do some damage in this in the fourth inning, as we'll get to in a second. I actually managed to get a little bit of pitching time in that fourth inning, but gave up 2 walks, basically, and that's what that's what set up Jordan.
Only 2? Nice.
Yeah, I know. And that's what set up Jordan Drexler to actually hit a grand slam in the fourth inning, because if we actually got that final out in the fourth inning, we would have been able to, work with the mercy there. And Jordan Drexler actually raced that with a grand slam. So 17-8 by the time we got to the fourth inning. And it was pretty much just home ground from there. Able to get them out, switch sides once again, and then put James Lee back out there to secure the game. And then they threw me in for the last part of the inning against my own brother, and managed to get the final out as he hit one up the middle right to me. And your final score was 17-14. This game kind of went pretty long, so we had to kind of cut time a little bit. because I know there was a few guys that needed to leave, so we cut off the game at 5 innings. But final score of 17-14 was this game. A lot of home runs. Like I said, Jordan Drexler 3 home runs, myself 4 home runs. Anthony actually got 4 home runs as well, including that grand slam. Ethan Lee got 3 home runs. Raffin got 1, and James Lee actually did get a couple of really nice hits as well, but better on the pitching side for the most part.
Gotcha. Sounds nice. Sounds like just ball. I saw some video. Ball was just being hit around a lot. Didn't seem like it took a lot to hit the ball out of the park as well, which is kind of the case there. I remember the summer All-Star game in which I was the All-Star MVP, by the way, based off of the mug I have here. But I remember that one. It was kind of a very similar thing. It started off. It was like 9-6 after the first inning or something like that.
Yeah.
So something stupid like that. But it sounded like everyone pretty much had a pretty good day up there. Just kind of looking at these teams and how they were drafted, I would say I would have picked James's team over Jordan's team to win. Might have to talk to Jordan about some GM lessons and things like that, but that's why I'm the GM. So
Yeah.
it sounds like it was a fun time though, but but as it's been shown on Instagram and stuff, based off of your 5 home run or 4 or 5 home run day, and your good defense, and you pitched in and got the final outs. It sounds like you were able to join the club with me here with an All-Star Game MVP. If you want to show the people it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this was already up on Instagram, but I'm very grateful to actually this is actually my first award in this league. Obviously, having only been here for like 5 seasons.
It's your 5th season.
5th season, yeah. Finally got one.
What did LeBron say? It's about damn time.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's not the same thing. You can drink out of yours. This just pretty much just sits on my shelf.
Yeah. Take a drink out of yours. Come on, take a drink.
There we go.
I'll just.
All right, I have this. I mean, this is a Monday night, so probably not a good thing to show this, but
straight vodka.
Was it?
No.
If
only.
Publicly drinking vodka
for collegiate purposes, like it's not vodka.
I could just whistle blow.
I can't say that.
I could whistle blow on you right now. Like, he's drinking vodka. But yeah, anyways, no, actually very grateful to receive this award. I actually did not think I was going to get this award. I thought it was going to be either between me or Anthony Garusa. Obviously, only the team that wins gets the award. You can either decide to put an asterisk on it, because technically we didn't have a lot of all-star representation out there.
It's a bubble award.
So we probably would have been a different story if we had other guys out there.
This guy sucks.
Other than that, very fun day. Really liked it, and very grateful to receive this award. And this shall be on top of my computer, basically. So yeah. That's nice.
Yeah, so, going back to the point, this is your 5th season in the league. You officially joined us in the fall of 2022. You played a couple. We were a guest player in the summer of 2022 with my team, and those are some fun times. But how does it feel to finally win your first award here?
It's like when you're on the Dodgers. Obviously, you have like Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts. That probably would be a good comparison for you and Jordan. I don't know what kind of comparison I'd put up to that, but I guess whichever support player's on there. So maybe that one guy that had like a great performance one year and then just decided to not do that great the rest of the year. So I guess like Tommy La Stella, Jared Walsh, but it is nice to actually finally get something at least, to be in this league for like 5 seasons. It's a very competitive league, obviously. I think the first season was probably one of the better ones, but then obviously competition does get better as time went on. So I'm just glad. Been trying to adjust more to it, and I think the numbers are definitely an improvement this season than compared to the last couple of seasons. And I think I've helped get some good moments for this team so far, and definitely hope to do some more as we get closer to the playoffs. So as long as I'm happy, I don't know if you're happy. Maybe you're happy. I don't know.
I don't. That's the big question. Are you happy?
I'm happy. It's a bubble
Right,
award. Yeah, like
as long as you're happy, you can you can put your award along with the long list of awards that LA Wiffles of OC players have won. Mainly with the franchise. I wouldn't count Jordan's Cy Young from the summer 2022 season as ours because he wasn't on our team, but he is now. So
might need to start a museum for when that gets big.
Yeah, you can have a whole section just for Stephen Hayden with.
I think that's pretty much what it's going to be. unless we have
we got Jordan's two Homer Derby mug bats now.
Yeah.
You also did win the only plaque of the only custom engraved plaque that is being given out on the league awards. If you're curious what kind of awards are being given out, you can go check those out. That's on the OC Football website. For example, the World Series winners all get bats, as does the Home Run Derby champion, and the All-Star Game MVP is the only person to get a custom engraved mug plaque. So that's a one-on-one product right there. So congratulations to you. Not even the MVP of the league will get that. We talk about the MVP a lot, but not even the MVP will get that. MVP gets the custom mug, as well as a Cy Young, Silver Slugger, Hank Aaron get the custom bats, and then some other stuff for some other things. But congratulations to you. Glad to see you. Glad to see you finally get something, and it adds to a long list of LA Wolves of OC players to win awards. We take it all the way back to the spring 2022 when we had the MVP and Hank Aaron award on our team, and then summer was we had Manager of the Year. Fall we had nothing actually, but that's okay. And then spring we had we had a Silver Slugger and a Homer and a World Series champ. Summer we had an MVP and an All-Star Game MVP. So our team has won 2 All-Star Game MVPs in the past three seasons. And then fall 2023 we had MVP and the World Series champs. So we won a lot. We've won a lot of awards here over the Wolves of OC, and we are proud to see a new member win. Maybe we'll see Dustin or Dominic or James Lee win more awards. And plus we have James Lee who won Rookie of the Year as well. I almost forgot about that one. Maybe we'll see one of them win some more awards as well as we get into the future. So I'm glad to see my guys doing well. Guys continue to succeed. I'm glad to see you get this one.
Yes, sir. And hopefully this is the beginning of other awards, not just in this league, but other leagues in the world and bigger tournaments. Like yourself, going to York, Pennsylvania. That's a really big one, but that's kind of a reach. But who knows? That's you have to set goals for yourself. I think it's a good way to set goals. Obviously, you've completed a lot of those goals. I think you've almost won every single award at this point, right?
We could have a full-time discussion about that. But,
yeah.
In terms of the awards that have been given out, do we want to have this discussion? Do we want to bore the audience or?
No, we can do that on our own.
We need something to talk about. We're doing it. All right. So the spring. I have won pretty much every award. I have not won a pitching award. I have not won the Cy Young award before, but I have. Or the Home Run Derby champ. Those I haven't won, but I've been MVP twice. I've been Hank Aaron. I've been Silver Slugger. I've been Manager of the Year, All-Star Game MVP, and stuff like that. So those I have won. I've never been Rookie of the Year, but that wasn't around when it was a possibility for me. Relief Pitcher of the Year. I've not done that. Like I said, I've won the pitching award. So I've nearly won every award. I was kind of trying to go for that Cy Young award, but that's. Hasn't worked out for me well so far, and plus we have Jordan Dresser who's only had 4 runs in 26 innings pitched. So, you never know. I think we talked about my possibilities of winning an award earlier in the podcast. So we'll see what happens with that. But this isn't about me. This is about you.
Mm-hmm.
So congratulations on winning that award. I wish there were more people out there. I'm not totally sure what happened, but it's a bit unfortunate. But I don't know the full situation with what happened with everything. So
we made it worthwhile. They gave us lemons and we turned it into a pretty fun game, basically. So I think it was a great day. I think the one award you have to go win now is Male Player of the Year in the Purple League. So you might want to bump down there next season.
Oh, there have been some talks relating to some teams. I've put myself out there, or possibly just want to put my own team out there. So we'll see if there are any females at all in the world. Please reach out to this podcast, and
this is your call to get them.
This is the only chance I have of picking up a girl. So
please join my team.
As we talked about with Lucas Sardo, it just negative Riz over here. So
I think we need to get him back on the show and a few other guys too, man.
We might need to. We got an off season to do that. But speaking of future podcasts and stuff, as we mentioned, we have the special Wednesday / Thursday episode coming up where it's just going to be. It's going to be a shorter one, just talking about playoff predictions and stuff. Our reaction to who made or didn't make the playoffs, and then predicting what's going to happen for each division. So then after that, we'll have a podcast talking about the winners. We'll try to get some World Series winners onto the podcast as well. Talk with them about stuff. And then after that, to be a focus on OC Wiffball's representation in our end of the year tournaments, which I talked about before. It's me, Justin Lee, Jordan Dreschler, James Lee, and we have an outsider coming to play with us, and Tommy Hernandez. So I think we'll have a chance to do pretty well. There'll be some real good players, real good teams out there, but we'll see what happens. But for now, congratulations to Jordan and Justin for winning those awards, and good luck to people in week 8. I guess that's all I got.
Sounds good. Yeah, I think you've covered up pretty much what we're going to be talking about. Yeah, like you said, we'll have a podcast for just all the winners, and then obviously a preview of what's going to happen that 31st tournament. I believe we are taking a break for Christmas weekend. But we will be back after the 31st and 30th and 31st to talk about what happened in that tournament. And then everything else kind of is up in the air until we get the official OCU Wiffle Ball spring season schedule and just see kind of where things go from there. And then if we want to fill in stuff, we can put a schedule together for sure. But
yeah. Actually, we mentioned the Glizzy Gladiators, the end of season party. They'll be cooking hot dogs and stuff starting around 7:30. The schedule for the signups for spring 2024 and summer 2024 will be announced soon. With like the schedule and the signups and stuff. Golf tournament this Saturday, so stay tuned to that. This has been a long, continuous run with wiffle ball, and straight from that fall season into the winter season right away without a break. So, for those people who may be a little bit burnt out, this is your chance to after this week's your chance to get a little bit of a break and rest that arm and the swing for the next year for OC football looking to be better, bigger and better.
Yeah, definitely take an outlook of how the year has been. I mean, we've had a lot of interesting. Obviously, winter season, the first one of its kind in this league, so a lot of.
Might even have to get Anthony on to talk about some of that stuff. We'll see.
Yeah, we should. Yeah. Well,
why not?
We're at the 35 episode mark too, man. I mean, that's another interesting milestone that we've reached. So great to see that. I mean, all the people that are watching this, once again, I mean, always grateful to be able to have all these people watching what we've got. I mean, getting to 35 episodes is a lot of episodes. So.
Yep. Yeah. 35 already, and I haven't even been going for a full year. So.
Yeah, we're almost there. We still got few months to go till we get to that 1 year mark. Maybe it'll be like 50 at that time. I don't know, but
somewhere around there.
Well, I think that's it. I don't know if you said that's it for on your side of things, but I think
that's it for me.
Okay, well, I guess that's it for us. Episode 35 of That Scuffed Up. Let's see what we got in week 8 and with the playoffs, and stay tuned for Wednesday for the next episode of Stats Scuffed Up, episode 36, for playoff preview predictions and whatnot else. We shall see you guys in the next episode. Thank you and good night.
Number 1 seed, baby.